Okay, lawyers and law firms, if you are using this particular marketing strategy that we're going to talk about today, then you need to stop it and do something else instead. My name's Chris Hargraves and I'm from knownlikedandtrusted.com.au, where you can find other fantabulous things and get in touch with me if needed. But today we're talking about copycatism, which isn't a word, but is something that happens a lot. See, here's how it goes. The law firm looks around at what the other law firms are doing in their visible presence on the internet, and they go, let's do what they're doing because that seems to be a good idea. That is not a good idea. Adopting the strategy that absolutely everyone else has already adopted is not a good idea. Now, okay, if you are a new law firm, then you will probably need to do some things that everyone else does. You'll need to get a website, you'll need to collect email addresses, you'll need to have a social media presence. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you use the tools. See, the copycatism really is a methodology for a law firm who in no way wants to stand out from their peers and competition. Why do I say that? I say that because I see the law firms doing the same things as each other, and not surprisingly, it doesn't work that well. And this is where the "we shouldn't write blog posts that are longer than 300 words" came from. And then all of a sudden, a couple of law firms went, you know what, actually that's a terrible idea when it comes to search engine optimization. We're going to use a different strategy, amazingly enough. We're actually going to research what best practice is for SEO, and at that time at least, and probably still now as I'm talking, long form written content was going to perform better in terms of search engine optimization than short form content. And so they started doing that. And lo and behold, they got a lot more organic success in search engines because they did something different from everybody else. Now, how different is too different, and how can you tell whether what you're doing is different? Because, let's face it, if you pick something, there's a good chance that somebody else is already doing it. So I'm really talking about numbers here. I'm talking about doing the things that are safe enough to do in the land of marketing, that they're not exactly pioneering and therefore risky, because I know lawyers and law firms aren't big on the R word, but something that you can comfortably do that really isn't happening a lot in lawyer land. And the reason is because law firms are just horribly slow to adapt. So in this sense, a lot of smaller firms actually have something of an advantage, because you can literally just go, you know what, I'm going to do that and I'm going to do it tomorrow. It takes a little bit longer to get the wheels moving sometimes in a larger firm. Some large firms, though, are pretty nimble with this stuff. So what do you need to do? The first thing is you need to stop looking at other law firms as your examples necessarily of best practice when it comes to marketing. Look outside the legal arena for things that you can be doing, and then think, well, who else in my space is doing this? Who else in my space is doing a video? Who else in my space is posting on LinkedIn every day? Who else in my space is doing live videos? Who else in my space is doing interviews with people? Who else in my space has a podcast? I've said who else is in my space enough times now, so I'm going to stop. But you get the idea. Look at what other industries are doing. Look at what people in marketing land are doing and are telling you to do, and go, you know, why would we not do that? Why would we not be the first firm to do X? Everyone else is doing X in this industry. X is not particularly hazardous to our health. Why would we not give that a crack for 3 to 6 months? And why would we not start now? If you're now in that process where you float an idea and then 6.5 years later it might possibly make its way through a committee meeting, that's not a good way to get this stuff done. Just decide, run a pilot, make it happen. That is how you're going to see whether these strategies are going to be successful for you, but more importantly, it's also how you're going to get better at executing the strategies. I think a lot of the time the reason we don't want to do these things, a lot of the examples that I just mentioned say, is because they're just far enough outside our comfort zone that it just gives us that little feeling of, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about being on a video, seeing myself on camera, hearing my voice on a podcast. I think in a sense you need to get over yourself. We are not the best judges of what is likely to be successful, and nor should we be. The market and our clients will decide ultimately what's successful. If we keep self-censoring all that stuff, we'll just be stuck in this never-ending routine of not breaking out until we are absolutely forced to, because overwhelming influential forces around us have compelled us to catch up with the times. So stop copycatting other law firms in your digital marketing. Try and do something that other people aren't doing in your space, or at the very least not a lot of people are doing in your space. There is a real benefit to being an early mover in some of these areas, and if you wait until everybody else has already done it, there's precious little point. You're going to see far less traction, you're going to have far less potential benefits, and you're going to spend a lot more resources getting stuff off the ground. So do it sooner rather than later, and I wish you the best of luck.